But there's like this fear that, you know, God forbid we take this second division lacrosse league off the board and this guy's going to leave. This guy that's not even valuable to our business is going to leave and go play it somewhere else where it's offered.
Come on, let's go!
You think I'm going to come on here and put one of the Aussies in the elite tier?
I'd vote for Rob with 25,000.
I wouldn't vouch for you.
I can basically just cheat and get the same bets that they're getting. And
it's weird because you can also pay your bills at the same place where you bet.
This guy talks a lot of trash. He's talked a lot of trash about me, Rob, a lot of people in the community, but he's refusing to show his face.
Touting yourself as a pretty good NFL gambler, I thought you were an idiot.
Say testing, I'm a cuck, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The Aussies, going head-to-head with the Aussies. That's what I drew for, and I said, get him, Kirk.
And they call me a mean-spirited name. I don't hang out with them.
The Toronto Maple Leafs at 14-1 are staring me dead in the face.
I'm already getting, a lot of early. This could be the best Circles Off episode that's ever been done.
Welcome to Circles Off, episode number 163, part of the Hammer Betting Network, presented by Pinnacle Sportsbook. I am Rob Pizzola, joined by Johnny from Betstamp. How's it going?
Rob, we are here. We had a couple things go viral on Twitter over the past couple weeks.
New social media hire Chris Horvat is he's proven valuable. He's farming some engagement for us.
The one, my Plus TV move of the week on the Matt Trenhill episode, for those of you who don't know what we're referring to, was that people are getting to the airport too early before their flight based on the fact that they're sitting at the gate for too long. Okay? And I never expected this to be very divisive.
So such a controversial take.
Certainly not as divisive as it was. I'd say it was probably 70-30 in agreement with me.
Yeah.
On the comments, we had, a couple 100,000 views on the tweet, which obviously we're thrilled about. But what was crazy is the amount of people that were just giving out bogus takes, and I'm here to address a few of those right now. I'm not going to name anybody by name, but I'll start by saying this: if you actually genuinely believe that you can go to the airport and be as productive as you are at home and can do all of the same things you can do anywhere else at the airport, then that, in fact, is incorrect. Because as everybody knows, that's very, very big logic. It's physically impossible. So I'll list a few things that you can do at home that you can't do at the airport. And that would be, the start of that list would be anything you can do at the airport, you can do at home in more comfort or elsewhere in more comfort.
Agreed.
And certainly, there's a lot of things you can't do at the airport. For example, taking a comfortable nap, sleeping in your own bed, getting a workout, hanging out with friends that are not going to be going on the trip to you past airport security, and countless others. I didn't think it really need to be said, but there's so many people just commenting that. I even had Roxy Roxborough threw a shot at him. He's like, you can't be as productive at the airport. That's on you. Like, listen, I know he doesn't know how to use the internet, and I know he's used to the small internet, but who's using airport Wi-Fi nowadays? Like, listen, when I work, now not to be a snob or anything like that, but I dock into an Ethernet. Like, we're using fast connection because that's needed and it just speeds up your productivity. I'm not, going nuts on the airport Wi-Fi, trying to connect to a thing, sign up for a thing, spam my computer, steal all my data so I can get a, airport hacked Wi-Fi on my thing that's going so slow. Like, do your work at home, come to the airport when you need to go to the airport. See ya. Done deal.
Every camera at that airport could see your laptop screen. If you're involved in the betting space,
I'm not even saying that's
there might be reason for you not to want to bet at the airport and things of that nature. Just saying. Also, like, I don't know what other people's setups are like. And maybe this is, I fully agree with you on this take, by the way.
The internet sucks at the airport. There's no denying that.
But also your setup sucks. Like, you're hunched over or in your seat or whatever. You got, your laptop screen, but I'm used to multiple screens. I mean, listen, this might come across as like, oh, look at Rob. He's like always, but that's my setup at home. Like, I want to use that type of setup as much as possible. My big thing is that people are always like, well, the worst case scenario is you miss your flight. You miss your flight. Again, I always encourage people to think probabilistically, okay? But for some reason, you're super late to the airport, you got held up in traffic, just like in Toronto this week, there's some flooding that caused some issues for people to get out of town. okay, you get to the airport, you get in line, there's still going to be like an airport agent that comes up through the line, is like, Chicago leaving at 7:25. Anyone in Chicago, like, they will accelerate you to the front if you are in danger of missing your flight.
People are gonna think they hate those scumbags.
Well, listen,
now.
I don't like it.
I don't
either.
even do that. I just get to the gate on a reasonable time. It's not that hard. You get there right as it times in, and people say, "Oh, it's impossible to predict." I can't even begin to predict the time because you never know what's going to happen. That's what a prediction is. That's what the bet is. You make a bet based on the correct probability, and you go and you just do that. It's a problem you have to solve. It's so simple.
You're not missing your flight is what it, like, listen, you can, but it's such a low probability that, I mean, when we're doing like expected value calcs.
And as I said in the initial clip, if it's something that you cannot afford to miss for a reason that's beyond monetary or time, then yes, go to the airport early. But in most scenarios, people who miss their flight will still just wait 2 hours at the airport, which people are waiting anyways. So it's like as if the equivalent, if you're going 3 hours early, you're essentially missing your flight every time. You're missing your flight every time in time value. Other people brought up, listen, this guy obviously doesn't have a wife and kids. Sorry, I'm glad that you having a wife and kids now is forcing you to make still bad decisions. Hopefully, it's not impacting. Hopefully, you don't just make bad decisions because you have a wife. Apologies for anyone who's in that boat.
I do listen. I do understand that point of view. Sometimes there are battles in marriage that are worth fighting, and those that are not. I haven't been there before. But I can understand that. If somebody says, listen, I don't want to put up a big stink with my wife or my spouse or whatever because I want to get to the airport half an hour early, I don't want this to be a thing, that's real life. Because sometimes you might have a partner that might hold it against you for a while. I can understand that. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it.
Tough spot to be in for everyone out here who's in that scenario. In addition to that, you don't know how long it takes to go through with kids. Hey, buddy, budget that in, right? So part of the prediction, go ahead. And again, the reason I'm speaking like this is because I got so much hate on this tweet that's so far, like these guys just don't understand at all. Couple other ones people brought up, well, you could obviously get an airport beer. We'll get into that later. Obviously, we talk about the airport beer. There's like, it's so comfortable. An airport beer, sure, maybe you enjoy that, but you can't even bring it to the gate. So you're still, no matter what, going to the gate early and sitting at the gate. You have to, I don't know if there's any airports you've ever been to, but I've never been to an airport that just allows open beer at the gate. Usually you need to sit at the bar.
I'm honestly not big on the airport beer. I've talked about this before. I think it's a very overrated beer for me personally, because airport beer leads to me having to piss on the flight more than I generally would, and I really just want to like sleep through the flight.
I got absolutely crushed before I went on the flight to get to Calgary, and then just kept drinking on the plane. But thankfully I timed it out so that I didn't have to pee too early, and then I was good to go.
Yeah, but your kidneys are like 10 years younger than mine. I'm a little bit older. I have to pee more often. I would prefer an airport edible like before I'm getting there. And like by the time I get through security, I'm feeling good. I'll sleep on the plane. Like I much rather that.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of other people brought up the airport lounges. I mean, listen, teach their own. I'm not a big fan of those personally. I think they're also still negative EV in many ways. You're going early to go to a lounge experience, which is not really great, and it's probably more comfortable to be at home or elsewhere. In addition to that, I do agree though, it is much better than sitting at the gate if you can, and oftentimes you do get drinks and free booze and stuff like that. However, I personally wouldn't voluntarily go there. It's more of a, you're in this situation, that's the best. And a lot of people did mention and respond in the comments, like, not all airports have a good airport lounge. So, depending on some small airport you might be in, there might not even be that option to go there early. And sometimes there's only maybe one spot where you can grab a beer, and it's a packed bar.
I will say too, like another thing that I just kept thinking about over and over, and maybe this doesn't exist for every airport in North America or worldwide, but like if in Toronto, if you're going to Pearson Airport, there are wait times that are live online at any point. Like you don't need to leave home earlier just in case there's a 3-hour wait when you know with certainty that there's like a 15-minute wait at that exact moment as well. So like there's a lot of stuff that people say, and when I was consulting for sportsbooks, I had to fly a lot. I did have to fly. I was taking at least 4 flights a month for 2 to 3 years. I've flown a lot. I've experienced it a lot. At first, you're just like, you think you know what air travel is. You get to the airport early, and then eventually you just start pushing it a little bit further and further because you're like, why am I going to go to the airport so early? And you just start to like learn certain things about it. But like, yeah, you can look up wait times. Obviously, you know traffic with like a decent, like we have live traffic.
Yeah, we have live traffic now. We do have live traffic.
Like we have a lot of good predictors of when you need to be there. Sure, you can buffer a little bit of time. If you happen to get there a half hour early, you hit the lounge. You can get a half hour massage or whatever, you know. But I'm with you, Johnny. Like I'm very a lot of the stuff that was brought up as like opposition to me, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. It's just stuff that didn't make sense. And this guy's a legend, by the way. Chris Doncic over here, who tried out the airport run early with 2 children. Departure at 3:09, arrived 2:15, walked right on the plane at 2:39, no wait. Stress level 6 out of 10. Probably when you're pushing it in the early going, you'll have like a little bit more stress because you don't know. But only because we met my in-laws who arrived an hour earlier and kept calling. You know,
this guy's an absolute legend.
Absolute legend.
Congrats, buddy. I hope you continue to save time and time at the airport. Put that time to good use. Spend it with your family, not in the line, and instead maybe, obviously playing with your daughter, teaching your kids. Great work.
In the year 2026, when we finally have swag, we'll send this guy a sweater.
Done deal. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The only one that really, to be honest, grinded my gears was the fact that people said, like, legitimately we're saying, what can you do at home that you can't do at the airport? Yeah. And it's just, I don't even think it has to be answered anymore. It's done. We're obviously not going to go there.
I'm very tangled here at the moment, by the way. There we go, finally.
Speaking of something that, maybe that's probably not going to work there.
Wait, actually, Johnny, I got something to bone to pick with you here. We did the beer draft last episode. Rob and I just kind of glossed over it when it happened.
Yeah, we talked about
You deserve
this
the
week.
most flack ever for that spike ball.
Spike ball beer is not cutting
it's
it.
not.
Those who don't, those who know, no. Those who know, no.
But it's like any sport that you could play with one hand and hold the beer in. Like, what makes a spike ball beer better than a?
It's literally
better
part
than
of the game.
Bocce beer.
Well, because it's a part of the game. Like, listen, hear me out. Those of you who know, you know. And I had a couple buddies who messaged me and they said, these guys don't know. They don't know. And that's fine. That's fine. I even sent you guys a couple screenshots. I'm not expecting everybody to know this. It is more of a personal experience, but there is nothing better than playing spike ball. You have a beer in the hand, like a can of beer in the hand, and you're making a diving play where you need to can switch, and then you pop it back up on a dive, can switch back, finish it. That it's part of the game. It's an unbelievable experience. And again, I'm not a big
video. Like, we're gonna.
I'm not a big beer drinker. Certainly not anymore. Definitely have crushed my fair share of beers in the day. For those who were commenting, like, do these guys even drink beer? Yeah. I don't even anymore. Did an honorary beer chug at a wedding this week just to post on Twitter. The full video of the beer chug was somehow unreleased. Our new social media at Chris Horvat.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
Was it you?
So that beer chug, I finished in last. Well, okay.
Yeah, no shit. Shout out to the one guy who's like, I analyzed this video and based on the bottle angles, Rob certainly came in last.
I would also, like, this is definitely, we talked about this as like the worst beers. I don't want to ever chug a beer, but I especially do not want to have to chug a beer that's just been like removed from the freezer. Like, my teeth were so cold.
You don't have it in you.
I don't have it. I don't have it in me.
I finished, for those of you who watched the video, I finished the beer very shortly after the end of the video. It should not have been cut. Let's see if we can get that full video posted, please. But
my wife took the video of that, and she sent. I think she didn't want to embarrass me, so she sent the
clipped one.
Yeah,
I actually watched it after, and it there was a full video.
There's a full video.
Yeah, it's okay. She's nice, and
she
obviously
didn't want to embarrass me.
You don't want to embarrass Rob.
I get it. I mean, listen. But I gotta say, if I had a redo, I would certainly, the one beer that was missed, that was commented on several times, and is truly an epic, great beer. Honestly, I think I would have put it atop the list. is that beer right after you mow the lawn.
Yeah.
Like the mow the lawn beer, and it's because you're always mowing the lawn when it's hot. You don't mow it when it's raining or it's wet or it's warm usually. You get in after there, you open the fridge, crack a beer. That, to me, is number one beer. I don't know how I thought about it. Whoever pointed that out, totally agree. Like, I'm going Vegas cab beer. There's no way Vegas cab beer is better than the beer after you mow the lawn. So that, to me, was a clear
My favorite one in the comments was somebody had commented for a worst beer was the blackjack table beer where you order the beer, it comes an hour later and you already busted out. That's the worst beer. You didn't even want the beer. Terrible how they get you, these casinos, man. Congrats on that comment. You had me laughing for quite some time there. Actually, I sent that to a bunch of people.
Yeah. Shower beer is, by the way, extremely polarizing as well.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
That wedding we went to, there's people going up to Zach like, oh, you get it, man. Shower beer, whatever. And then there was people like, what the hell? Shower beer, it's disgusting and whatever. It's very polarizing beer. Pinnacle is not a polarizing sportsbook because everyone knows that Pinnacle is the best sportsbook out there. If you haven't found out yet in Canada, make sure you do check it out. We got lots of stuff coming up here. Euros just ended. Copa America just ended. The Olympics are starting. I remember betting the Olympics a couple years ago. Decent limits at Pinnacle relative to everywhere else, even though it's a smaller market. Pretty solid there. We got NFL preseason coming up. College football season coming up. Make sure you check out Pinnacle Sportsbook, the best odds in the space. Extremely competitive. Treats every bettor fairly. Can get down, not going to get limited, not going to get cut. Been in business for 25 years for a reason. If you do sign up to Pinnacle in Canada, use code HAMMER. It does support us here on the Circles Off channel. And by the way, while you're at it, we're about 1,000 subs now shy of the 10K mark. That would be big for us. At 10K, we said that we were going to actually get merch. Hopefully we will at the 10K mark. But make sure you smash that sub button down below. Make sure you turn on notifications because we're going to have more content coming on this channel that's not just this show with me and Johnny. And also, if you do like the content we put out there, let the YouTube algorithm know. Smash that like button as well. It goes a long way.
All right. I got the list of questions for our Q&A today. I segmented them as best as I can. We're going to do some betting strategy, some questions about the industry, and then some questions about Rob and I that always seep through. If we didn't get to your question, then we didn't see it, or maybe you're an idiot and you commented a shitty question.
There's some bad questions. There were some funny ones that I don't think we can include because they're not for this audience. Like if we had
there's a high chance we didn't see it and just grace through it as well. Also, but those of you who know, you know who you are. All right.
And like, just last thing, please stop with the questions on like illegal activities. I'm not going to answer questions on illegal activities. Just for the future, we get them every episode. I'd love to, but there's a lot of things that are illegal I don't really want to talk about. So now that we got that out of the way, there was a lot of good questions this time around. It's not all bad. So, Johnny.
All right. Is there a number? This one was from Takes by Jay. Is there a number that you would never bet regardless of expected value to avoid a risk of ruin? Example, betting a minus 10,000 or greater. So I'll start with that one real quick. And the answer is, simply put, yes, there is actually. And the expected value in me, obviously, you know for a fact that you can plug this in based on your bankroll into a proper calculator, and you should have a bet size for you. So if your bankroll is $10,000, then there's really basically no way you can lay 10,000 to win 100 on something, right? If your bankroll's $10,000, you can't lay 10,000 to win $1. It'd be pretty, stupid of you to do that. If your bankroll is, let's say, $1 million, then can you lay 200,000 to win $1 on something where the expected value is there? You could, and Kelly in certain situations based on the expected value of that bet would say, yes, you should bet this. Right. However, for me, I'd say, and it's a very loaded question because there's not many sports bets at the sports books that are in the range of minus 100,000 that are actually good value bets. But no, I wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't risk $1 million to win $1. It just, I wouldn't do that.
I also wouldn't. So minus 10,000 is a 99% implied probability. Even if you estimate something at like 99.5%, or it's really like the only situation where I would do something like this, it would be a pass post where you already know the outcome. of something with certainty that that's the outcome. Because aside from that, like, we really don't know anything for certainty. That's just, so I don't know what the number is. I don't know the exact number, but I tend to, like, I will risk, and I regularly do, like, minus 1,000s during hockey season.
Minus 1,000 is a completely different thing, because it's very likely that you're able to identify value on things that are in that range.
Yeah, minus 1,000 is like 91%, 90.9% implied. And, like, you might have, like, a situation where it's 96%, 97% that this goalie's not going to get a shutout, as an example. Totally worth the bet, in my opinion. Some people disagree, but once you get to the point where you're dealing with, like, implied probability 99%, unless you know it's a certainty, I'm not touching it.
Agreed there. Although, obviously, if you really buy the book, then there's certain bets you should make. For me, it's like I said, I'm not going to risk $1 million to win $1. Yep. The sheer embarrassment alone would put me off of that. Up next, somebody's asking here, I have 3 soft books that offer niche markets, but one consistently offers outlier odds. For instance, 2 books offer 2.5, and the third consistently offers different odds. He's actually talking in decimal odds. A few offer 2.5, and the third consistently offers 3.1. So that would be plus 150 and plus 210. Is it wise to consistently bet the outlier book? Market only offered by 3 out of 50 books. Okay, so this one, it's a unique question. What he's basically saying is, the market's off, but this thing is only available on 3 books out of 50. So, he's not sure about efficiency and stuff like that. I'd say the best thing here to do, and it's very good advice that you're getting right now, is to, I guess, paper trade this or soft trade it, or look at historicals if you can find them, and just identify which book is.
Can you explain what paper trade or soft trade is for people?
So what I'd say is, again, if it's a meaningful amount of money for you, and you can just bet it anyways, and then wait until you see for a couple months. And if you're consistently losing on the outlier book, then in this situation, likely that outlier is actually sharper than the other 2 books. But what I would do if I wanted to be sure and not lose any money and only place great value bets is I would just essentially write down the odds. And then when I say paper trade it, I mean, don't actually bet it, just analyze it for many weeks and write down your record of what you would have been if you bet on book A, and then what you would have been, profit wise if you bet on, book B, which is the outlier book, and then go from there. So that's likely the best way to do it. There is situations in which, you're not talking about many books here. There's 2 odd sets on one and 1 odd set on another. And in most cases with things like smaller markets, there could even be something where those 2 books are actually using the same odds provider odds source. So you're really like 1 against 1. So there's definitely no way that I would just blindly, without this information, place a bet on either of these 2 and tell you with certainty that it's good value.
Totally agree. The big thing I was going to say was that just because there's 3 books that offer line sets doesn't mean that there's 3 different sets of lines.
Correct.
2 books could be using the same odds provider for one of them. So I've talked about this on podcasts before, but don't always assume that the outlier is the most efficient or the correct number, or vice versa. You kind of got to figure this stuff out over time.
Okay, next up, this one, I think, Rob, you'll be a good answer for this one. Somebody entered the Circa Millions first time this year. It's a team of 3 guys. They split 1 entry. They're new to gambling on NFL pick'em pools. Definitely not sharp. What is your advice to give us a fighting chance in the millions besides listening to Forward Progress? What time should we be looking during the week for picks? How much weight should we place on line movement? How important is it to try and be contrarian given the size of the pool? That is from Mike.
So, Mike, you're asking me a question. I've never cashed in the Circa Millions, to be fully transparent with you. It's a pretty loaded question because a lot of this is going to come down to luck. That's the reality of it. You look at who wins the Circa Millions every year and their final record, and it's pretty absurd. There's obviously a lot of luck associated with it. I would still try to handicap as best as you can, especially in the early going of the season. The biggest mistakes I see people make are they pivot to going for what's called the booby prize too quickly, because they'll have the first couple of weeks of the season will be bad for them. They'll go 3-7. They're like, I'm out of the race for the millions. I might as well just try to go for last place. But your EV is still higher going for a cash than it is with what they pay the booby prize. And the second thing is, people develop a process. Some people do this in groups, some people individually, and they just stick with that process throughout the entire season, even long after it makes sense for them. So they'll be like 5, 6, 7 games out of cashing in the latter half of the season, and they're still playing like the biggest moves, like the biggest discrepancies between the current line and what the posted contest line is when you actually have to start altering your strategy. So that's my like really high level advice. At the end of the day, you're entering a football competition. Pick what you think is going to happen. Obviously, in the early going of a season, yeah, if the contest line is -3 and it gets steamed to -4.5, probably put that game on your card. It's a decent idea. But as the season goes on, you kind of got to play it by where you stand in the contest. So that would be my best advice, is like, don't be too rigid, and also don't make too many rash decisions based off the first couple weeks of the season.
Okay, good answer. I would agree there. And like Rob said, it is a lot of luck. So, entering that contest, there's a bunch of people who just don't even submit their picks. There might be an overlay this year. I don't think it's a bad bet that you guys made, and hopefully you have a bunch of fun and cash. Up next, will you win long-term beating the Pinnacle No-Vig line at slow-moving or off-market books? Understanding that you will get limited, the question is more about overall strategy success. So I can take that one real quick. Simple answer is yes. Simple answer. If I were to, not explain it all, yes, you can do that. Obviously, there's so much more that goes into this, and a lot of this, when I say so much more that goes into it, I can explain a bit. It's a hard, complex thing to do, right? So you're basically saying, hey, the Pinnacle No-Vig line, is that the sharpest be-all, end-all line for everything? And the answer to that is no. Is it better than the No-Vig line at another sports book that might be, the king of sports books or something like that? Most likely, yes. So you need to really factor in, though, what is the market on this? How much is Pinnacle taking on this market? What juice is Pinnacle taking on this market? So for something like player props, where Pinnacle might be taking 20 cents a side, the No-Vig price there matters a lot less than Euro Cup final, where they're taking a net 5 cents total juice for the entire thing, 2.5 cent spread per side, where that No-Vig line for a $300,000 limit is almost certain to be more sharp than some of the recreational sports books. So that matters an absolute ton. And another thing here is, when you say the No-Vig line, I want to make sure everybody is like de-vigging these things properly.
That was another question I think we got for this week.
It was, so I'll put that in there. People are asking about de-vigging, like, If it's a -400 and the other side's +200, the No-Vig line is not +300. No. So that's not how it works. The best advice I can get is get a de-vigging calculator online and use that. It's not practical to be like doing the calculations at all times. It's not useful. Just go online and do that, but don't assume that the midpoint is that. So if you have -138 and +130, then it's not -134, right, which is the DVIG. So that's just something for a lot of people to review. And then last thing before I toss it over to Rob is, you really have to factor in that if you think Pinnacle is the best, sharpest book of all time, that's just incorrect. There's so many other sharp books as well. There's so many other places that will have certain indicators on certain markets that just taking Pinnacle alone, devigging that, and then betting everything else across the entire market that's off of the Pinnacle line, I personally think would be a losing proposition. So when I say, can you devig Pinnacle and then win betting at certain books? Simply put, yes, depending on the books and depending on the markets. However, if you did that as a summation across the entire betting market, you would end up a loser.
Just looking right now at how many different soccer leagues Pinnacle has posted, 453 soccer events posted right now on Pinnacle at the time that we're doing this recording. The market matters hugely because for some of these markets, they're taking like $400, $500 a pop. And what'll happen in a lot of these markets is they actually get faked. So what that means is that people will look to use Pinnacle and move the line in the wrong direction so that they can bet the line elsewhere. Maybe whether that's a different offshore book that's copying Pinnacle or PPH that's copying Pinnacle. So it's not entirely the source of the truth on every single market. And feel very confident doing this for large leagues that they're taking a big pop on, all the major leagues. But once we start to get into individual smaller markets, I would not assume that Pinnacle is necessarily sharp in every single one of those. A lot of times they could be being used for market manipulation.
Yeah, good answer. Okay, this guy's following up on a previous question asked that Rob, I mean, maybe me or you mentioned we'd look into. I don't really have the answer, but why do you get less points in a basketball teaser, which is a higher scoring sport, than a football teaser?
We said we'd follow up on this?
Yeah, do you know it, or are we following up again?
Listen, it's got to be something about
the range of outcomes on the score. It has to be, because in basketball you can only increment by 2 or 3.
Think about it. Yes, exactly. Basketball you can increment by 2 or 3. Football you're incrementing by 3 or 6. You have way more scoring frequency in basketball than you do in football. Like, listen, I trust that someone came up with these teasers and they logically made sense as to why they got these points. But I mean, I don't know. I've never done the work into this. It's how these individual points have an impact on the spread. That's the best answer I can give. Apologies for saying I was going to follow up on it. This was absolutely a blatant lie on my part. Whoever sent this question, true apologies. We did that episode and I never thought about this question again. That's on me. I need to be better, but I don't have a better answer than that.
Up next, Barry Horse recently shows his MLB stats. This was a very good
question.
Tweet.
Yeah,
and he is hitting a great ROI with barely any CLV in a market MLB, which is taking millions of dollars. Is this a small sample size or hiding CLV in an efficient market? Rob, I don't know the answer to this. I'm hoping you have something.
I can't say with certainty ever, right? Like, I don't bet baseball at the highest level anymore. So the MLB major sides and totals market, I can tell you who some of the players are in there, but I don't know how deep it is, how many big groups are betting into like full limits. I don't know all of that. Generally speaking, I still believe in CLV as a solid measure. However, there is a possibility that Barry Horse is doing something that's substantially different from other people who are betting into market. I will tell you, this past hockey season, I had much lower CLV than I did in the previous few years and had a better season in the process as well. Doing some stuff that was probably very different from what I think other hockey bettors are doing right now. Barry Horse is a super smart guy. He thinks in a different way, but that's certainly possible. I don't know if there's any data sets that exist in baseball that are like just a data set that he has access to. I don't know if that's the case. Hard for me to say and answer on this question. Generally speaking, though, this is what every sports bettor wants to strive for, really. Like, this is a license to print money. If you do have an edge and you're not getting a ton of CLV in the process.
Well, if you're not getting CLV, then that means you can really key in on focusing on getting good numbers, and that in turn will help your ROI as well. I don't really have too many comments on here. I have some hypotheses, but potentially to share for another
also,
episode.
like, I wonder about the timing of the bets as well, right? Like, if he doesn't think the baseball market is super efficient at close or something's happening late and he's just jamming at post, he's not going to get a lot of CLV doing that. But he might be stronger than who came in before him at that point. I honestly don't know. My gut is that he's probably doing something a little bit different. I will say, from modeling, for those who originate, lots of times you kind of just get stuck and like rooted and stuff works and you just keep doing it over and over. And I'm not suggesting that everyone does this, but I recently, was talking to a major baseball bettor, and they've like been using the same originator for years and having a lot of success doing so. And they're like, yeah, he's not changing a whole lot. He's just consistently having success. I don't know. It's a good thought exercise, but I can't answer it with any degree of certainty.
All right. Up next. How would you handle bet sizing when steam chasing / top down betting? Would it be a flat bet across the board with not knowing where your expected edges will land? All right. So we've mentioned multiple times about staking. When you're betting for real, it's going to be very hard to flat stake anything because certain books take certain amounts. And eventually, if you're doing this correctly and making money steam chasing, then you're not going to be able to bet as much as you like. So on a certain book, they might take a max bet from you of $100. Another book might take a max bet from you of $20,000. To ever be flat staking is pretty ridiculous in that space. If your bet size, for example, is $20 and you're on the come up, then I would recommend, in fact, not flat staking and instead Kelly betting based on how good you envision the play to be at that time.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not 100% set because you don't know the exact CLV on it shouldn't matter too much. You should just take the best information that you have at the time and grade your bet against that and then stake accordingly. In the long run, if you're doing this correctly, then it'll all even out and you'll get roughly the amount of CLV that you projected and everything will work out. Certain ones you might have an injury moves against you, and then the other game, might have the one that moves in your favor. And in summation as a total bundle, you'll end up okay.
Yeah, and if you're doing top down and you're just picking off a bad price relative to the rest of the market, you know what the market price is everywhere else. Like you can estimate your edge at that time. It might not be exactly what it's going to close at, but at that time of the bet, for a lot of these, you actually know exactly what your edge is at that exact time. So you could Kelly stake or, just do it off the top, eyeball it off the top of your head. This is a 4% edge. This is how much I should bet, whatever. But you should know. You should know for a lot of those bets.
Yep, I agree there. If you bet an NBA spread +5, Mavericks +5, it's bet down to Mavericks +3, and then you see it climbing to +4.5 again. Are you grabbing -3, -3.5, and -4 when it starts climbing for the middle, or just raw dogging the +5? I guess you'll have to consider limit changes and your own number on the game too. So if a spread in the NBA goes from +3, goes from +3 to 4.5, then -3 in theory is value, but -4, depending on the juice, is probably not value. You can buy and sell points anyways in the MLB, so you should be fairly easy. It should be fairly easy to actually calculate, how much each point is worth, given the game, the total, everything like that. So to answer this question, there's many ways to do that. If something is +5, it gets bet down to +3, and I know it's going to close 4. If I'm getting the correct juice, where I feel that would be a good bet based on the 4 close, then yes, I'll take -3 and I'll take +5 and go for the middle, because independently, I feel those are both good bets. If I, played +5 and it got bet down to -3 and then it moved all the way up to +9, then I would take -8 or -7 if the juice was correct, even though I already had a +5, and I would take a reverse middle. So really, the key here is you want to just place as many good bets as you can at the time. And in the end, if you're doing this correctly, it will all even out. He does see you have to factor in limit changes and your own number on the game too.
Of course.
If you want, I don't even think you have to factor in limit changes too much. You just want to end up on a good price relative to the close if you would like to win long term. So if the close is +4, and you end up with -2 and +6, you have a great middle. If the close is, +4 and you end up with +6 and -4, then you only have one side that's a profitable bet there, and you probably would have been better off leaving that bet unhedged.
Yeah, I mean, if you're considering your own number on the game too, it really just depends on where your number lands. At the end of the day, if you made a game 3 in the NFL, and you could get -2.5, -110 one side, +3.5, -110 the other side. The 3 is more valuable than the VIG on both. You would take that. But, really, you answered that pretty well. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just looking for valuable bets is all it comes down to. So, totally acceptable to do that if both bets are valuable.
So this one, I don't get 100%, but I'm going to read it, Rob. Originator, you're working with an originator. Originator sends you a WNBA first half total over 77.
Yep.
You play it, and it closes first half over 77.5 -10. So it moved up a half point. The over 77 is now priced at -117, so it's moved 7 cents. And the under 77, which is the opposite of the bet you just played, is -103 at close. You could have the over 77 at -110, 7 cents of value is what he's saying,
yep.
Or the under 77 at +110, 13 cents of value.
He's saying basically you do not bet it out for the originator. So like the originator sends you, I want a dime on first half over 77, and rather than betting it out, you hold it and you're getting plus 110. Basically, you're acting as the bookmaker.
Yeah, I would recommend not doing that because that's would technically not be on side there. Yeah. But Rob, what do you think? What do you think in that scenario?
Well, this is like a very specific scenario where you know what the play is going to close at, and you don't know that. Like if you're working with an originator who's sending you plays, you're generally working with them because you respect that person, and either you want you want information. Either like you know that in some way that information is going to be helpful to you, or you want to piggyback on that play. You would really only hold it if you're really uncertain about this person. But I don't know, this is not a realistic example because in this example, it's just like you know where it's going to close. You know what I'm saying? Like you make that decision in real time all the time. If it's a WNBA first half originator totals, I would bet it every time and get the 7 cents of value.
Fair enough. Good answer there. A couple modeling questions. I'm going to deflect a lot of these over to Pizzola as I'm fairly strongly out of the modeling game and very happy about that. When modeling NFL player projections, should your wide receiver projections be dependent or independent of your QB?
So for me personally, I've never done wide receiver projections that are independent. I've always made it dependent. So you can build things into the model as well, especially if you're simming out a full season, which is like percentage chance of injury, percentage chance that the backup starts to play, because all of that is going to affect your wide receiver projections as well, right? Like if you're just assuming that like the wide receivers, it's dependent. The answer is I always model dependently, me personally. You might ask some other modeler what they do in that situation, but for me, it's always modeling dependently.
Next up, in your personal models, Rob, do you favor success rate or EPA?
So I favor EPA. Models are built off of EPA, but there's some inherent flaws with every metric, right? Like, random example, but if you see a quarterback throw a Hail Mary at the end of the first half and it gets picked off, that's going to have a pretty negative impact on both. I mean, we'll have a negative impact on success rate, but it'll have a much worse impact on EPA. And in a lot of cases, it's like you don't even need that play. So I do EPA. I use EPA for my modeling, but I also strip out plays. If maybe that's not exactly what he asked, but it's a little bit more than what he asked for, but I think that's a good answer.
Last one on the NFL modeling. For turnovers in football, how do you weigh those in your power ratings or model? So he's trying to weigh turnovers, and he's saying, do you weigh a team that gives up more turnovers on offense more than a defense that forces more turnovers?
Okay, so there's been like long-standing debates on what turnovers are lucky and unlucky in the NFL. I think a lot of originators would have different points of view on how they go about this. For me, all I can tell you, and I don't, apologies for not giving a super specific answer, but I think you're really trying to determine what is predictable going forwards. So if a team defense actually is forcing a lot of turnovers, and you think that they're going to continually force turnovers based off of the type of turnovers that they forced. I'm trying to do what I can here to give you an answer that makes sense to you, but also not give away what I think is maybe like a differentiator from what I do with other people. Reality is you got to try to determine what is real versus fake turnover. Let me just say that.
All right. And this one I think I can answer, actually. This is a really good question. Do you have to be more computer savvy today to make money betting? What time period do you think was the easiest to make money? 70s, 80s, today? So 70s, 80s, today is hilarious. There's a lot of decades in between those.
70s, 80s, or today. I mean, there's betting long before that as well.
Absolutely.
Like you could bet in the 20s and you could fix a baseball game.
Probably. I don't know.
You could fix a baseball.
There you go.
This is not alleged stuff. There was legit fixed games back in like Major League Baseball a century ago. Because if you had a lot of money, you can make a lot of money.
So yeah, probably most likely yes. Do you have to be more computer savvy? So in general, obviously yes. The game is running on computers today. You need technology, you need tools, you need accounts, you need technology. So to start, yes, 100% you need to be computer savvy. Now, I don't mistake that for me saying you need to be able to code and you need to be able to write scripts and things like that. But you do need to be able to obviously know how to use a computer and read a screen pretty effectively, and or use technology on there to bet. What time period do you think was the easiest to make money? So this is, a lot of people will agree with this, a lot of people will disagree, but the time period that's the easiest to make money overall, I think is actually right now. And the reason I say that's the easiest to make money is because gambling is so much more accessible to everybody, and there's so many different promotions and boosts that are just like super, super free. And so I think right now is the easiest to make a little bit of money. Now, back in the day, if you had an edge or a really big edge, I think there was a much larger chance you'd be able to make more money. But in terms of just number of people winning, today has got to be the highest, which is a little bit sad though, because today is also by far the highest number of people losing as well.
Yeah. I don't know the exact era of, but listen, at the end of the day, there was a time where there was opening numbers that were posted in a newspaper in the morning, and that was the number for the day. Whether or not, Patrick Ewing was out of the game or Michael Jordan was out of the game, you could bet into the number that was on the morning line.
But it was also hard to bet there.
Well,
it's hard to find people that would take your action and to get down a lot of money and, all that stuff.
But betting is always, that's always an element of betting. If you're good, it's always hard to scale.
But literally right now, if you want to just place a bet on something, in the majority of places within North America, you could just open an account.
What's the specific terms of the question here? The easiest era to make money?
It's
because I agree with nowadays there's so many books.
Which time period do you think was the easiest to make money? It's got to be now. To make money, not to win a bet, to profit money.
Yeah, I actually do think it's now. There's so many books now, so many accessible books with different line combinations.
You can just sign up on your computer.
Although it's pretty. Look, it's actually got to be that era that I was talking about. Think about it. If you were just very selective.
But where are you even going to get the information? There's no circles off pod. There's no way you have to learn it all yourself.
You go early to the airport, which is what you hate doing.
You get the newspapers.
You get the newspapers.
You wouldn't even have thought of that.
But you just have a consortium of friends that go to different cities and they call each other with information. Actually, it's I don't know if that's a violation of the Wire Act or something like that. Either way, that has to be it. Imagine Dan Marino's just out of Joe Montana's not playing this week. And people in that city know, but for some, it's not national.
It was easy to win. It was easier to win your bet, but it was harder to make money. In my opinion, it's harder to make money because it was less accessible.
I didn't live through it, so I did, but I wasn't experience better through that. But I would have liked to live through that. I think I could have been me personally. I think I would have been more successful if I was born 10 years earlier. Maybe even earlier, maybe 20 years earlier, so that when I'm in my prime now was the time where
Rob thinks he's in his prime.
Oh, sorry. That was definitely. I definitely did not mean to say that. I'm most certainly past my prime. I danced at a wedding and I can't feel my entire body 3 days later. I'm most certainly past my prime. I know that's actually a really good question. I would be interested for people's comments on that down below. In the comments on YouTube, let us know. You can win in any era is the reality of the situation. It's just whether or not it's easier. It's so easy to win now. It's so easy to win now. I don't mean to sound arrogant or
was it easier to win your bets 10 years ago? Yes, but it was way harder to sign up for an account. So therefore, all in, I think it's easiest now. But obviously, we're just splitting hairs on the question. Yeah. We'll get into some industry questions here. This one, Rob, I'm curious what you think here. Months ago on the Joe Rogan podcast, Billy Walters said the goal of sportsbooks was to get equal action on both sides. Why do you think he said that?
I honestly have no idea. I honestly have no idea. I talked about this specific podcast with, who did we talk about this podcast with? Alan Boston, right? When we had him on, because Alan Boston used to work with Mr. Walters, as he called him. I don't know, but that particular podcast, Billy Walters said a lot of things which I was puzzled by. Again, for the second time in this episode, I'll bring up that I had consulted for sportsbooks before. It was never, ever a goal of the traders to get split action ever in any scenario. We've talked to Chris Bennett from Circa in the pod. We asked him about that. He said that that's BS. We've had Shipper on, talked about that. Like pretty much any person that's been part of a trading room who we've talked to in the last 3 years has told us this is not true. So I don't know if there's like this mass conspiracy of people that are lying, but I lived through it personally myself prior to that, and it was never a goal. So I actually don't know. I honestly don't. Maybe this was like the goal back in the day when Billy was like in his prime. There was probably a lot of books that were running their business that way. But I think with the evolution of the market, it's not the case anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Can't really give a great answer there, unfortunately. Rob, do you see... Actually, these are kind of together, so I'll read this one first. Given the consensus that fewer than 3% of bettors win long-term, why do sportsbooks limit or kick out winners? Wouldn't the 95%, 97% losers be enough to cover the 3% who wins? What are your thoughts on this practice?
Pretty simple. I mean, they're businesses. 3% are winning. You don't want those 3% to win because your net gaming revenue would be higher if it was 0% that one. That's the answer. It's I mean, I don't even want to say it's greed because it's not. Like anyone who runs a business generally wants their business to be more profitable, especially in the case of these big sports books. You report to a board of directors that like, this is the end goal. This is how the world works. So it's purely monetary.
Yeah, if you're running a hat shop, selling hats on the street, and you make money every month, but there's 3 guys coming in every week and stealing hats, you're still going to kick them out, even though you're making money, despite the fact that they're stealing the hats.
That's an interesting example that you went with hat shop.
I just look in there, saw a hat, got a hat on. Zach's got a hat on. I'm a simple guy.
You're running a hat shop.
And to follow up, another question here. Do you foresee a future where sportsbooks no longer limit players? What impact would this have on the variety of sports betting options available?
No, I don't foresee that future, personally. I think there's a lot to overcome, and the biggest is the lack of education at the regulatory level. Remember, each state is operate independently, each province in Canada, same way. I just don't see it. Like I don't see it. I can potentially envision a world, and I think it's an extremely low chance, where there's like one universal line set down the road. This would be some time from now, where maybe you can get into a scenario where people would be afforded better limits. But no, I don't. I don't see it. I've lived it and breathe this industry for a while now, and I think there's just too many obstacles and hurdles to overcome.
I agree. Yeah. And if it did, speaking more to the impact of the question, is if they did not limit players, and they wouldn't be able to offer all of these different markets that people bet on. So it's very common that people say, oh, if they didn't limit me, I could win unlimited money. They wouldn't be in business. So the fact that they limit you is the reason why they're able to offer that stuff. And that leads into this other question here, which, again, is a very good question. I love these discussions. Somebody asks, question for someone who's consulted for sportsbooks. This is for Rob. We all know that you obviously shouldn't max bet European handball if you don't want your account limited. But why do the books offer European handball?
Well, there's obviously still a market to bet.
So I'll say a bunch of squares that bet it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look at what was transpiring during COVID, right? Like, people want to bet on stuff. People were betting lots of money on virtual camels, dude. People will bet stuff. And especially some of these sports books actually have streams of the events as well embedded into the book itself. So you can bet like a handball game that's going to happen quickly and watch it very quickly. For a lot of people, that's a great experience, whether or not they're going to win or lose. So having a breadth, deep offering is important for books, because at the end of the day, there's people that will bet on anything. I mean, look at me and you around the office.
Certainly. I'll play heads up blackjack versus almost anybody.
I mean, like,
No-Vig, like, I'll play.
We have a fake like roulette spinner that we have in here, and I give Johnny the fair, well, not the fair odds, the casino odds, and he'll rip some spins. And
as long as it stays in the family, and it's low dollar amount, the gambling is obviously very fun. So yes, that is why they offer those, because a lot of people say, oh, if you bet European handball, your account's going to get limited. But that's not what really happens. What happens is if you bet European handball for max bets, it's likely that it's going to trigger an account review if you're winning on that. And then a person will review your account and say, this guy's winning on this and other stuff and whatever, and his account's up a couple $1,000 or 10,000 or maybe more, and then they'll cut you off. If you go for an account, if you bet European handball and you're losing on it, because you're just degen betting it, and you go and you end up getting an account review, and your account's 25 grand in the red, betting all stuff that's losing, they're not going to limit your account for betting European handball. Agreed. You get limited at the end of the day for winning and for beating the line, or for placing bets that the sportsbook believes are going to be winners long term.
I will say, like, from past experience, being a part of general sportsbook conversations and trading conversations, sportsbooks are scared of not offering something that other books are as well. Like, this actually happens where they're like, we're getting killed on this sport. They will not take it off the board if another book is offering. Again, my past experience, but there's like this fear that, God forbid we take this second division lacrosse league off the board and this guy's going to leave. This guy that's not even valuable to our business is going to leave and go play it somewhere else where it's offered. They don't want to do that. So I think a lot of it is just like this is truly like fear motivated as well. Now, granted, they're returning a positive ROI on all these sports. So it's not, whatever. Some guys pick them off, are like European handball experts. They're still doing just fine on European handball.
The point sucks Jeff Benson argument about being banned from Circa for pass posting prompts this. Most rec books smoothly transition from pregame to live as the game starts. Does betting at the borderline game time run a risk of being accused of pass posting, even if it's unintentional? I can take that one right now. Circa is a regulated sportsbook within Las Vegas. They have to use a certain software. Many people don't know this, that prohibits them from using an auto mover, and they have to take games on and off the board manually. In that scenario here, I do believe, based on the information I've seen online, that this guy Point Sucks was limited for pass posting them on second half bets, meaning the second half started and then the person,
there would be like a bucket in an NBA game, a 3-pointer or whatever.
And then he'd hit that side.
Yeah.
In this scenario, it's really something that's more of a Circa issue and not, a Pinnacle or a DraftKings issue, because at the end of the day, this is just simply due to Circa Sports' inability to use like technology correctly and automover based on the Las Vegas regulations.
Yeah, I would answer this simply by saying that no, you don't have a higher risk of being accused. You have a risk of being accused of pass posting when you're pass posting. That's usually when you get accused of pass posting. Like, if you make a bet 5 seconds before the second half tips off and there's no points in the game, you're not going to get accused of pass posting. It's not going to happen. Like, if you make the bets within proper time frames, even like you're going to be fine.
Yeah, in this scenario, by the way, it's also pretty easy to tell, because like if this person's just only doing this, there's traders on that game and they'll be seeing like, oh man, I'm getting popped right at the end of the game, like and these guys doing this every time, like it's obviously something. I think it'd be a lot harder to identify where there's not a known issue at these other sports books of this happening, and at the end of the day, there's just no way that there's that many people. Like, if you're betting it, you're not actually pass posting. The odds of 37 people betting that at the exact same time is very slim, and that's another big alert trigger for a lot of these books. Okay, this guy sent in a screenshot, which prompted Rob to send me the screenshot on the notes. So It's a little small and in white writing. I'm going to do my best here. You guys ever think about your betting end game? I'm a 45-year-old rec plus bettor who's been at this seriously for the last decade. But now I have 2 boys, 8 and 11, who are into everything. It's becoming more and more difficult for me to remain as plugged in as I feel necessary to continue to be successful betting. I am conflicted as this has been both financially rewarding for my family, while conversely also taking time away from my family. I'm heavy leaning to retiring completely after this NFL season to focus on my family and recommit to my career, from which I have basically been gone or part-time during my ramp up over the years. I am a little concerned with a form of withdrawal, not only from discontinuing betting, but also from not participating in the space, losing good relationships and friends I've made along the way. I'm curious your thoughts on my situation and if you've ever thought about what your retirement might look like. Patrick in St. Louis.
I think I've met Patrick.
My eyes are
I think I've
watering
met
here
Patrick
from reading
at a bet bash before. I'm almost certain I have. Listen, I'm not Dr. Phil. This is the reality of the situation. Sounds very clearly like you know what you want to do, Patrick, by this. Like you're heavily leaning towards retiring, focus on family. I'd never stop anyone from doing that. At the end of the day, people have to prioritize what's most important to them. Some people, it might be money. Some people might be family. Some people might be something completely different. But if they're getting in the way, you go with whatever's the higher priority to you. That's the best piece of advice I could give you. I wouldn't tell you one way or another, do this, do that. I think you make the decision on your own based off what your priorities are. Have I thought about retirement? Absolutely. I've been working the last 10 years towards very life-specific goals, both monetary and a number of other things as well. So I do think about it all the time, honestly. I don't want to share those publicly, but I have some very specific goals on where I'd like to be the end of this year, when I'm 40, when I'm 45. So I do think about it quite frequently. I've talked about this before, but I don't have the same love for sports betting that I used to. At one point or another, I could have seen myself doing it forever. Now it's a means to income for me, but not necessarily something I love to do. So that's my personal response. Yes, I do regularly think about retirement.
Yeah, I'm a bit too young to contemplate retirement at this age.
Yeah.
So it's more of a question for Rob.
Yeah, it's like, how can I get to, for me, I think about how can I get to the point where my life is self-sustaining, right? It's like, okay, I can travel the world and make income off of my house and still make income betting and doing, it's not necessarily retirement. It's maybe just a different form of life. But I'm regularly thinking about that stuff because I don't know. I think it's important to be real with yourself. One thing that drives me crazy, I'm going on a complete tangent here, is people who are just miserable with their life. And I'm not miserable with my life, but they refuse to do anything about it. And they refuse to come up with a plan of how to get themselves out of that state. It's wow, you don't understand. I have to do this. It's well, you have to do that now, but there's other means to an end for everyone. So I'm a big believer in life planning, and I think about that very often.
Okay. I mean, interesting. I know at the end of the day, you might lose interest or something, and then at that point, it no longer becomes valuable to you, no matter how much money you're actually making from it. So it's obviously a tough spot to be in, and may I never get there, I guess I'll say.
This specific example, right? It's I'm heavily leaning to retiring completely after this NFL season, focus on family, recommit to my career. Sounds like that sounds like, it's pretty close to his mind made up. But I'm scared that if I don't participate in the space, I'm going to lose good relationships and friends. You don't have to do that. If you just make it a priority to maintain those friendships, reach out regularly, call guys. We're going to, if your partners are abroad or whatever, you just make it a point that I'm going to see these guys once a year or talk. It doesn't have to be one or the other in a lot of cases. I think sometimes people just feel really overwhelmed. If I do this, what's going to happen there? Well, make both of those. You don't have to pick one or the other in a lot of cases.
All right, a couple other questions here in regards to the hammer.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you hire Joey Knish?
Oh, it's a no-brainer. Kanish is amazing. He's an amazing content creator. Like, brings a lot of energy, funny, knowledgeable about the space, like lives and breathes betting. Kanish is one of the best hires we've ever. I don't know that we'll ever make a better hire than Kanish. Honestly,
don't pump his tires like that.
Listen,
no, Kanish, I got you, buddy. You've been backing me up every episode you've been on.
Yeah, well, he did say like the one that he said. When
I went 8 for 8?
When you went 8 for 8 from the 3-point line, that was like a backhanded compliment. That was like, yeah, I don't really expect.
Since I came off the bench. No, but you know what? I still respect it. it. And he was with me on the airport take.
Listen, Kanish is not going to be everyone's favorite. Joey Libs, listen, I get some of the liberal takes. Maybe they're not for me. He shows up late to a lot of shows, and there's really not much that we can do about it because he operates on his own schedule. But he produces really good content, and that's what I'm about. Like, we created a network to produce good content, and I honestly, not even just like within the Hammer, he's one of the best content creators in the space. But Kanish and Powers, seriously, I'm just plugging it right now. Go subscribe to Hit the Books. If you even watch a little bit of college football, go subscribe to Hit the Books. It's the best college football content out there, period, without a doubt. Anyways, that's why we hired Kanish.
Speaking of the best content, what people or companies outside of your guys' great stuff do you think are producing the best content for sports for casual bettors and for advanced bettors? And before I answer that question, I did want to say one thing I forgot to mention on last week's show about prepping for NFL. We chatted, Rob and I were like, hey, do you even know who's like the starting receiver, running back and stuff on the Commanders and like all these teams now? Like everything changed. Forward progress during the summer, you can binge all the episodes at once. You don't have to catch them in real time, but they're actually going through and giving out info which you need to know in advance. Like you need to get acclimated with all the rosters, especially if you're betting the player prop market, just to know what guys are on which teams, who's going to potentially start preseason. Especially, you want to know like who's playing. You want to catch those for week 1. That way you can kind of see like, all right, these guys are getting actual playing time here. This guy's probably going to be at this. This is mispriced here. So yeah, if you don't do it right now because you're not like directly into football season, it's mid-July when we're recording this, that's fine. But some point between now and NFL season, I haven't done it myself yet, but I'm going to be binge watching all the forward progress episodes that basically just recap each team and the changes that happened.
And we have people that are very plugged into those teams as well.
Yeah, like personnel changes, scheme changes, like they're actually giving out really good info.
For this question in specific, by the way, forward progress on YouTube as well. And you can, if you just want to listen in audio form, go ahead, Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. This is a challenging question, right? Because best sports betting content could mean something different for a lot of. Generally, when we say best, it would be like whatever's doing the most views is largely considered the best, right? That's how we evaluate music, movie, like anything really in the content spaces. What are people watching? Personally, for casual bettors, I think Barstool puts out the best sports betting content. I fucking love Big Cat. I don't know what it is. I find him hilarious. He's like, it's just Cat. He just reminds me, like he's just a through and through casual bettor that knows how to, like has a lot of personality. So for me, I admittedly do not consume a ton of betting content because I find a lot of it, you either have to be really entertaining or really informative. That's that one or the other. If you have both, then you're like, you've hit it, right? Like that's why I love Hit the Books. Entertaining, informative, complete package. Barstool's super entertaining. You're not going to go there and get like the best picks. You're not going to get a lot of valuable, but they do some really good stuff. So personally, for casual bettors, if you're casual, you're looking mostly for entertainment value anyways. For advanced bettors, this is where we have a problem. And that's like what the Hammer is trying to step into and create. Because there's nothing. Like I'm not going to recommend, what can I recommend for advanced? There's like an in-between, which is You Bet or You Bet, which I love. I appear on it during football season. Nick Costos, Lucky Lockerson, Ken Bar. By the way, like, maybe I'll say something I don't care. This is my podcast. I'll say whatever I want to say. BetQL Nick Kostos and Ken Barkley, I don't know who their agents are. When they're negotiating their next deal, they should ask for 7 times the amount of money that they're making right now. If you've ever tuned into anything else on like BetQL, what an absolute abomination. Sorry I said that out loud, but I had to say it because like there's such a drop off sometimes when like Nick is done or something like that. Anyways, you bet's like in between, right? For pure advanced bettors, like what is there in the space? And are advanced bettors really consuming content, all that, right? The advanced bettors I know personally actually prefer to consume entertaining content because they're not going to really learn something from, I mean, this is, and that's just people that I know, but I don't know. That's a tough question to answer, Ben, because I don't have a I don't think there's a lot of good content out there.
It's been mentioned on the show that you have a player prop tool for purchase. That would be the Betstamp player prop tool. Where can someone go to sign up for that? That was from AP White, VXAP21. That's not a planted question by me. You can look up the profile.
No, you can check that out at lemonparty.org if you're interested.
If you do want to register for the Betstamp player prop tool, so it's fully closed for now. We're doing another round before football season. There's no way to just sign up for it on the site. You basically have to just like DM Rob, DM the Betstamp account, and set up like a one-on-one. And as of right now, that's it. Potentially more things coming for September, but it's fully closed right now. It's be back and better than ever for September for NFL season, and hopefully we're going to be making a lot of money.
Yes, DM the Betstamp, please, directly at Betstamp. Please direct your
DM Betstamp. And for VXAP21, I'll have somebody reach out to you. Actually, I'm going to send that off right now.
Also, by the way, sorry, I'm just like, this is completely random. I didn't know that. Because it came up again, because I brought it up again, I didn't know that Lemon Party was not like a universally known thing. Like I made that joke on a really old it was like episode 10. Some guy responded to that episode very recently and was like, oh, like I actually visited this site. Real apologies to that. Like in my universe, everyone knew what that site was. Don't check it out. Don't visit it. I just actually want to issue an apology to that guy who accidentally stumbled upon it because of my recommendation.
Rob and Zach, rate Johnny's wedding speech from 1 to 10.
Okay. I'm a harsh critic. I'll tell you right beforehand. I would say I would get... So this wedding speech, for people who don't know, Julian Packer, CTO of Betstamp, got married. And Johnny was his best man, gave a speech at the wedding, opened it up with a banger joke, which I won't repeat, just in case some people find it offensive.
Just don't say any of the jokes.
I'm not going to say the jokes. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10.
I'll take that for sure.
I thought it was a good mix of like, showing your friendship plus some comedy. If I had some piece of advice for you, I probably would have made it like a minute shorter. That would be the only downside, but I'm a big fan of short and simple speeches that get to it, but it was very entertaining. My table was very in tune, and there's a lot of speeches at this wedding. So I could tell that you had you captured the audience more than anyone else. That's a true assessment.
I'll take an 8.5 out of 10 all day.
True
Zach?
assessment.
Yeah. I agree. One piece of criticism would be you pointed a lot. There was a lot of pointing.
You pointed a lot. You did a lot of pointing.
There was a lot of pointing.
You didn't even do it. You were subconscious,
that's basically
right?
the only thing I could say to you that I didn't like. Well, it's not even that I didn't like it. That's just my feedback.
I was pointing too much.
There was a lot of pointing.
At my table, I laid minus
there's
5.
A lot of pointing.
I didn't know your speech. I laid minus 500 that you had mentioned Betstamp.
And I did not? Or
You did. You did. I won the bet.
You did.
Good.
Yeah.
That's an easy.
I risked 100 to win 20.
With who?
We'll talk off air afterwards.
Wait, I don't even think I mentioned it.
You did.
You did.
Said Betstamp once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't even...
You said, well, I actually don't know that you said Betstamp, but you said when we started our company together or something like that, and that was enough to be
buddy, whoever bet that with you got fleeced on the
and conditions.
That they got fleeced on the terms there. But so Zach, what's the official rating?
Yeah, I think 8.5 is fair. I think I do agree with Rob. You actually fully, like, everyone was very, very engaged, which was really good.
Not easy to do these.
It wasn't even that long either. Like, I'm not nitpicking. It
was like 5 minutes.
It was like 5 minutes.
I like joke writing a lot. And, unfortunately, I was asked to cut out my best 2 jokes because they were too sexual for a wedding. But, hey, listen, at the end of the day, you got to be making the crowd laugh. You got to win over the audience.
I love wedding speeches that do that. You got to capture attention, and you got to keep the attention throughout.
The worst wedding speech you can have is when people say a story that is not even a good story and is a complete inside joke between 3 people at the thing, and then the inside joke to other people sounds so ridiculous.
I'm with you.
Oh, to this guy, my best man, he did this from going back in times, like when we slept over on the air mattress, and then the air mattress thing with the beer. Like, they tell stories like that, and then everyone else in the crowd's like,
they can't relate. Nobody can relate. They have no idea what you're talking about. There's 2 people laughing that lived through that story,
and one of them's not even really laughing.
Yeah, you can just literally tell that to the person on the side. No, you got to capture everyone's attention. It was a good speech.
Not that much you can put in terms of jokes too, because you need to write, and I do like writing jokes a lot. It's you need to put in something that everybody who is at the venue will understand or can potentially understand really quickly. So you can't do like earlier jokes. You can't do callbacks. You're not hanging out with these people for forever. It needs to be like jokes that are more like visual. You could see like, oh, okay, I got that. Like, hilarious. But no, it is what it is. Last question of the show here. I'm guessing you both have taken a strong liking to betting podcast hosts. So, being betting podcast hosts. Sorry. Okay.
So tongue twister right there.
Zach, please cut that out. Basically, what he's saying is this. I'm guessing you both like being podcast hosts right now. If you were offered a dollar amount right now to step away from the podcast and you cannot go out and start another podcast about sports or sports betting, what would be both of your buyout numbers?
I didn't see this question come in beforehand. I'd have to think about that a lot. So it's complex because we own equity in the Hammer.
Yeah. Do I still own a portion of the podcast or no? Because that would change it a lot.
So me and Johnny and Zach own equity in the Hammer, as do a lot of our other hosts. And I wouldn't want to leave other people hanging either for like my own monetary game. It's like, oh, okay, guys, I'm taking $1 million. See you later. Like, you're the last couple of years you've put in, fuck off and go find. Like, I wouldn't do that. So I don't know. It would actually have to be significant life-changing money for me.
For you to step off here?
Which,
I think, listen, I'm a big boxing fan, big time. In boxing, there's an A side and a B side. Obviously, with this podcast, we can't lose Rob. Rob can't go. He does every episode. Me, I'm off 1 in every 4 anyways.
Yeah, you'll be off next week too. So
if I still owned equity in the podcast, and we got an offer for someone to replace me, which was going to be like, I thought potentially a more polarizing guest that would be even better and whatever, like, I'd entertain that, and then I'd kind of just come back and do episodes here and there. I do enjoy doing a lot of these episodes. There's also some that like Rob does solo, and I don't even join. I'm really busy traveling all the time. The one thing I will say about the pod, most people won't realize, consistency is the most important thing with a podcast. If you guys realize, we put an episode out every single Thursday at the same time, and you cannot miss. There are times when, Rob is traveling, I'm traveling, we're here, we're there. That is no excuse to miss. So at the end of the day, while we have a ton of fun with this podcast, at times it often is a grind because we're actually working on this full time. We put a lot into this. Like today, for example, is like, I'll just say it.
It's like a mass recording.
We're gone. Rob's traveling. I'm traveling. Like today is a full day. It's a 3 episode recorder. It's a 3-bagger episodes. We're almost finishing up episode 2 of 3, and we still have another one to go right now. So in certain scenarios, would I love to do 1? Yes, absolutely. But I wouldn't give up this pod, unless the right thing came along, unless I couldn't do it anymore.
I think the big thing for me right now is that I still enjoy doing this. When I don't enjoy doing it, we would talk about some sort of succession plan. But right now, I still enjoy doing it. I talk to interesting people that I ordinarily would never talk to. it's a good outlet for me to speak my mind. Like that's not something that I take for granted. Is like I have my own outlet to talk about whatever I want, and there's people that are interested in hearing that. Like I enjoy that. Again, I own a percentage of this company, so I don't know what the number is, but it's more than $1 million. I'll say that if it's more than that.
Yeah, mine is my buyout. Honestly, would be so we're factoring equity and everything like that. So I'd probably go with $1 more than your buyout.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Kanish would tell me he wants $1 on top of that.
Exactly.
That's how every
it
single
goes.
content creator at the Hammer. Honestly, I'm not going to mention names. I swear I won't mention names. But one of the funniest things ever was when we were negotiating. Like, I'll share this publicly. I don't care. I think a lot of content companies fail because they pay so much for shitty content. Okay. I'm not saying VSiN is shitty, but like you look at how much money VSiN is like losing right now publicly, which has been reported to like $100 million a year. It's like, how is this happening? Big thing for us was like, we want to build a sharp sports betting community. A lot of these people already do fairly well betting on sports themselves. The idea of making like $50 an episode, it doesn't even appeal to like a guy like Kanish. These people want upside. So we're like, this is how we're gonna structure the Hammer going forwards. And when negotiating the equity deals with people, it was like putting together a logic puzzle. It was like person A is like, I don't care how much you give me as long as it's more than this person. And then this is the person B is like, yeah, you know what? That sounds good, but I want to make sure it's at least equal to what this person is getting. I was trying to fit it all together as like Russell Crowe, A Beautiful Mind, like walking into the garage with all this stuff on the wall. And anyways, it's just hilarious how much different we are than every other content network out there. Just like guys rooting for each other to fail nonstop. And like, it's
terrible. Listen, there's a couple questions I wrote down here. I know I mentioned off the top, there's a lot of shitty questions. There's a lot of good ones that we didn't get to. Some of them, for example, someone asked a question about the Euro Cup. It's just way too hard to explain this with the rule changes and stuff like that. There's a couple other questions. Maybe we'll get to another time on a next episode. But for Rob and I, thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been our probably 7th or 8th Q&A episode.
Do you know Zach?
It's got to be 7th.
No, I don't know.
Part of the Hammer Betting Network. Everybody, please like and subscribe. See y'all next week.